this video, I'm going to go through the specifications of a mediation exam for the B1 exam at the Escuelas Oficiales de Idiomas in Aragón. That is, we're going to have a look at the official guidelines on what the exam is about and how you are going to be assessed, how you are going to get points for your performance as a mediator. In the official exam to get your B1 certificate, you will have 2 mediation tasks. But the problem is that you're going to do these tasks on different days. The first one, the mediation in writing task, will be done on the day of the written exam, along with reading, listening and writing. And then on a different day, on the day of the speaking test, you will do the mediation in speech. So you need to be careful with that. In the convocatoria ordinaria, because you will take all the exams, there will be no problem. However, if you fail mediation, remember that you will need to attend both days. Otherwise, you will fail. So if you need to pass mediation, you need to come to both days of the exam. Mediation in writing will give you the task, will include a text, a source text of maximum 300 words, and you will have to mediate that text into a new one between 80 and 100 words, and you will have 30 minutes to do it. I will give you more information about that in a minute. On the day of the speaking test, you will do your mediation in speaking. You will have 3 minutes to prepare it, and then you will have to speak for 2 minutes. You will be given a text in Spanish and you will have to mediate it into English. Your text in Spanish will be a maximum of 250 words long, and you will have to speak for 2 minutes. What the mediation exam wants to check, is that whether you are able to relay, to transmit information in writing or in speech, and you have somehow to summarize, to convey the essential information, the most important information in different texts, simple texts appropriate to your level, and bearing in mind that you are mediating the text for somebody else. It's not for you in this case. You're doing this so that somebody else will understand. Remember that you will have to use several strategies. For example, summarize, definitely. Maybe explain different terms that might be difficult for the other person. Paraphrase, which means use your own words. Or use simpler words, more or easier words, so that the other person will understand. Perhaps you will also need to make a text shorter or explain a specific term that is perhaps very specific or that the other person may not understand. All the information that you can see here in Spanish comes from the official specifications, exam specifications from the Escuelas de Idiomas. You can get them if you click on the link that you will find on the comments below. You have access to all this information. And as I say, this is the official information from the Escuelas de Idiomas. Let's have a look at the mediation in writing task. What you will get, as I said, you will get a text in English, so that's target language, English in your case, and you will have to mediate the text into English, so you will have to write a different text in English. Concentrate on mediating the text. Anything else is irrelevant, so don't start talking about different things. I will give you an example later. And remember, you're mediating for somebody else, for another person, for a friend, for a classmate, for a colleague, something like that. You will be asked to produce a text between 80 and 100 words. And don't worry, because the text, the source text you're going to be given will be easy. You'll be able to understand it. Even if it is in English, don't panic, you should be able to understand it. And then the type of text it will be just information and general information. It doesn't require that you should know anything in particular about that specific topic. As I said before, the kinds of things you will be asked to do will be to summarize your text or part of different texts, maybe explain data in graphs and charts, or maybe different terms, perhaps compare information, rephrase, paraphrase, that is, use your own words, maybe look for specific information and explain that specific information, or maybe change the register. Imagine you are given a letter, which is a very formal letter, and you want to explain that in a more informal way to a friend. This is what you would do, for example, from a formal document to a more informal email, for example. Okay? When you read the exercise, please read the instructions carefully. Don't just rush for the text. Read the instructions, because there will be a clear reference to the context, to why you're doing this, and the person you're mediating the text for. That is going to be very important, because depending on all these things, the type of text you will have to produce will be different. Okay, so all this information will be in the exercise, in the description of a task. So please read it carefully. The types of text you may get for this mediation in writing exercise will be, for example, infographics, maybe one of those lists with top tips or the best tips for getting something, or the most successful something, information from websites and blogs, and maybe, I don't know, possibly information from brochures, from travel agencies, for example, maybe letters or emails. But infographics and short information from websites and blogs tends to be very popular. I will show you an example in a moment. And this is just basically the same, but the screenshot taken from the candidate's guide. This is a possible mediation in writing task. So you have some information here about this video game. So you have these 5 pieces of information. You have a task here, so you would have to read it. And as I say, you have the information that you would have to reorganize, you would have to summarize, and probably paraphrase, say using your own words, not the exact words they're using in the text. If you want to see this mediation task, please click on the link that you will find on the comments below, and you will be able to download it, and you can actually do it if you want to practice for your mediation exam. And now I'm going to talk about something which is essential, which is the assessment criteria, how you're going to get your marks. And these are the success criteria. 25% will go to how effective your mediation task is. I mean, if you have to solve an obstacle, are you really solving the obstacle? Are you really helping the other person? 25% goes to what they call interpretation of content. Basically, how have you selected the relevant information? 25% to your mediation strategies, and then 25% of goes to your organization and how accurate your language is, how correct your language is. When we talk about communicative achievements, okay, we're talking about whether or not you fulfill the task. Basically, they've asked you to do something. Are you doing that? Are you helping that person? Are you solving the problem? Also, are you following the instructions? For example, is your text between 80 and 100 words? For example, are you giving the information that is needed and, relevant content? Then another 25%, as we said, to how you select the information. Then to your strategies, typical strategies you will have to use: summarizing and paraphrasing, using your own words. And then the remaining 25%, as we said, your organization and how accurate and correct your language is. In the mediation exercise, you don't need to show off. You don't need to use beautiful English. If you can, that's perfect. But what you really need to concentrate on is on actually helping the other person and making it easy for him or her to understand. Okay? And of course, be correct. Use correct English. Okay? So of course, revise your text before you submit it. But in the writing part of the exam, this is when you have to show that your English is very good. In here, if you can do it, fine, but what you need to be is accurate. You need to write correctly, and that's it. So, to summarize all this, for the mediation in writing task, remember, you will have a text in English and you will have to mediate it into English. And what you will have to do will be, you will have to summarize the text, you will have to use different words, or maybe simplify the language that the text is using. Typically, and probably in the B1 exam, you will be asked to write an email to a friend, to a classmate, to someone you know. Some students have a tendency, because they have to write an email, they start writing a proper email saying, "Dear Matt, how are you doing? I'm fine. My family is fine as well. Blah, 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 blah." No. Okay? Forget about that. You have to write an email, but what you have to do is go to the point and mediate the text. That is what you have to do. So, okay, you have to start writing an email and you will say, "Dear Matt, I've found this information," for example, and then you start transmitting the information. You start telling your friend about that information. And when you finish, love and your name, and that's it. But don't think that you have to write any more things, because otherwise you will run out of words and you will not have mediated the text, which is what you have to do now. There is an exercise about writing and you're assessing your writing production. This is not the case here, because you are being assessed on your mediation skills. The writing test is a separate one. So, as I said, to the point and show your mediation skills. And now I'm going to be talking about the mediation in speech task. As you know, this will take place on a different day from the task for mediation in writing. The main difference with mediation in writing is that the text you're going to get is in Spanish and you will have to mediate it into English. You will be able to prepare, you will be given the text and you will be given 3 minutes to prepare your mediation task. If you have to do your speaking test after it, which is what will happen in the convocatoria ordinaria, you will be given both your mediation task and your individual spoken production at the same time. So you will be given 5 minutes to prepare both tasks, mediation and your individual speaking. So don't forget about this. For mediation, you only get 3 minutes preparation and then 2 more minutes to prepare your individual speaking. So 2 different tasks. And once these 5 minutes are over, you will have to speak, you will have to mediate your text for 2 minutes, and then later you will do your speaking, your individual speaking. As I said, it's a text in Spanish into English. Unfortunately, while you're preparing it, you won't be able to take any notes. It is true that as you're speaking, as you're mediating the text, you will be able to have a text in front of you, okay? However, you can't read from the text. I mean, it's a different language, so probably you're not going to be reading. And definitely, please don't translate literally. Just explain the text in your own words. And obviously, the strategies that you will be assessed on are the same. So summarizing, saying the main ideas of a text, explaining ideas or maybe data, and comparing maybe data. The types of text you're going to get, again, are very similar to the ones you might get for mediation in writing. For the mediation in speech, my bet could be that you're going to get an infographic, probably. Otherwise, if you don't get an infographic, you might get some short articles, some ads or brochures. But if I were you, I would probably expect an infographic. And again, I will give you some sample mediation tasks in the link that I have provided in the comments below and in another video. My main tips, or just a summary of what you need to remember for your mediation in speech. Remember, you will be given a text in Spanish and you will have to mediate it into English. Very important. In the room, there will be you, there will be 2 examiners, and there will be another candidate. What you need to do is you have to mediate the text, you have to explain it, summarize it, etc. Imagining that you're talking to your friend or to your classmate or to whoever is mentioned in the exercise. Okay? So imagine you're talking to him, you're talking to her. So what you can do is that you can talk to the examiners pretending, imagining that the examiners are your friend. Okay? Or because there's going to be another candidate who is going to say nothing while you're speaking, if you're going to be more comfortable talking to the other candidate. So imagine that the other candidate, that the other student is your friend or classmate. But you have to talk to him, saying, I found this information and I think it's going to be useful to you. Okay? And the success criteria, the assessment criteria, are exactly the same as the criteria for mediation in writing. So whether you have fulfilled the task, whether you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, you have given relevant information and enough information, whether the information you selected is okay, if you have used the right strategies of summarizing, rephrasing, etc. If what you're saying is organized and if it is correct, linguistically accurate. This is exactly the same as with mediation in writing. So what I've explained is the theory, this is the official information that you get, but probably what's going to give you a better idea of what I mean is if you have a look at sample tasks, examples of exercises you might find in the exam. So you can watch a couple of videos with an example of a mediation in writing task, and I explain how you do it so you can actually see it. And there is another video with a task, with a mediation in speech task. And so again, you can see the process that I follow to prepare it.